What do you do when you've come to the end of yourself, when the chips are down and the heavens just seem like they're shut, and that faith that you have literally feels so heavy? The person we'll be talking about today is not just a biblical figure. This is a man who literally holds up a giant mirror in front of us all, because we have all been here. This is no other but the humble, the upright, and the perfect Job. Quick character list for us today. We have Job, who the Bible recorded was a righteous, blameless, and faithful man. We have Job's wife, who spoke from a place of trauma and grief. We have Job's friends who came to visit him in his time of need. We have Satan, the adversary, and we have God, who literally watched Job go through everything that he went through. Before we get into the details of this story, do not forget to click that subscribe button. Also, do not forget to click the like and make sure you comment throughout this video, as I would love to hear your comments. You ready? Let's get into it, shall we? Who was Job? In the Bible, it is literally recorded that Job was a perfect and blameless man. I'm talking he was righteous. Job was also super wealthy. He had thousands of livestock. He had lots of servants, and he had kids. He had 10 children. In everything that Job did, he made sure that he wasn't doing anything evil. So on the day that the sons of God presented themselves before God, Satan was there, and the Lord was like, "Satan, where comest thou from?" And Satan was like, "Well, just walking to and fro the earth, looking for who to make bitter, looking for who to get upset and stuff like that." And God was like, "Have you seen my servant Job? Who is faithful like him?" I'm talking like he's just on point. And Satan was like, of course he's on point. Of course he's faithful. The reason why he's faithful, Lord, is because you've given him all these possessions. If you take away the things that you've given unto him, he will curse you to your face. And God was like, "Okay, do what you will, but do not touch him." Satan was like, bet, jackpot. He was super excited. He went, he really couldn't hold himself. He literally destroyed everything Job had in one day. Job was outside, and then a servant ran to him and was like, "My Lord, while we were doing this, all the livestock have been taken, all this are dead, the servants are dead." Another one would run up and be like, "The asses are gone, the donkeys are gone." And the last servant ran up and was like, "My Lord, while your kids were dining in the house of their eldest brother, a wind came from the wilderness and blew the house, and the house came down, and everyone is dead. I alone escaped." You see how the devil made sure that there was a living witness. In everything that he did, he made sure that there was someone, a servant, that survived it all, so they can come and tell it to Job to mess with the heart condition of Job. After everything that he did, now this is where the Bible verse is going to come from. Job 1 from verse 20. Then Job arose and rent his mantle and shaved his head and fell down upon the ground and worshipped. What kind of man is this? After everything you just heard, all you can do is worship? And said, "Naked came I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return hither. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." Are you guys beginning to get why Job is Job now? Because hey, are you beginning to get it? This is why Job was considered righteous. It did not end there. So for those of you that were like, "Oh no, he lost all those stuff. Man, that must have been terrible." It did not end there. On another day, when the sons of God were presenting themselves to God, Satan came again. I'm telling you, he came again, and the Lord was like, "Satan, where comest thou from?" And he was like, just walking to and fro, making sure that people were very angry, ruining the relationship of daughters and mothers, making sure that fathers hate their sons, making sure there's strife, there's hunger, making sure that the world is just not okay, And then the Lord was like, "Have you seen my servant Job? After everything that you did, Satan, he's still upright. He's still holding on to his faith." And Satan was like, it's because you didn't allow me to touch his life. If I had touched his life, he would curse you. Because skin for skin, everything that the man has, health, that is why they say health is wealth. I'm telling you, health of a man surpasses everything that he has. And Satan was like, if you just let me touch his health, you will see, Lord. And God was like, all right, touch his health, but spare his life. Hey, Satan was like, jackpot number 2. So he went, and he really couldn't wait. The first, he just afflicted him with lots of boils. I'm talking, this man had boils all over. The only place he could get relief was sitting in ashes. Now think about this, a grown man just covered in boils, sitting in ashes, and he was scraping off the boils, from himself. While seated in ashes. I'm talking someone who was once wealthy, who had children, who had servants, who had everything that he needed. That is the work of Satan. This is where it got a little bit sentimental. Remember that Job had literally lost a lot. When his wife saw him in this condition, she looked at him and she was like, just curse God and die. Just curse God and die. When she lost her kids, she didn't say that. Right? But when you see the man that you love, your husband, the head of your household, seated in ashes, covered in boils, right? That was what she said. Job did not tell her like, hey, shut up or anything like that. Job said, why would you speak as though you were foolish? So if God gives us wealth, does that mean we cannot take, the other part of wealth from him too? If he can give us wealth, does that mean suffering cannot come from him as well? And in everything that Job did, Job was blameless up until this point. I'm telling you, like this story, whenever I read it, I try to stay away from the story of Job for a reason, because I don't want to mistakenly give the impression that I'm perfect and then they go and brag on top of my head. The story of Job did not end there. I know you're probably thinking like, what more can top this? He's lost everything. His health has been stripped from him. His wife, who's supposed to be his ride or die, has said, curse God and die. What else can possibly happen to this man? While Job was there sitting in ashes, he got visits from his friends. When his friends came, they sat down there with him. They cried when they saw him. And they sat down there 7 days and 7 nights and they couldn't speak a word. When they would finally find a word out of their mouth to speak, his friends said stuff like, you must have sinned against God to deserve this. You must have done something really bad for the Lord to bring this affliction on top of you. Oh, maybe he wasn't that righteous anyway. Is this hitting home for some of you? Maybe he wasn't that righteous. Maybe the reason why you lost this was because you were a sinner. Maybe the reason why you couldn't get the things that you deserved was because you had sinned against God. Maybe there was more to Job that we didn't see. So they sat down there and they judged him and told him, you must have sinned, and that is why you're going through this suffering. Oh, that hurt. That really hurt, because most of the time when we go through hard situations, like you see your friends who are supposed to stay by you, they try to make sense of what is going on, what is happening to you, and while trying to make sense of what is happening to you, they cast judgment in error. In error. Because who are you to cast judgment? You are not God. There's a reason why that person is in that situation. It's not because of you. You're not there to be judged. You're there to empathize. Cry with those who cry. Mourn with those who mourn. Rejoice with those who rejoice. After everything that happened and after his friends had spoken to their fill, right? The Lord finally spoke. The Lord spoke with questions, not even answers. And what happened to Job at the end of it all? Job got restored. Everything that he had lost, the Lord gave it back to him in multiple folds. He had 10 kids again, 7 sons and 3 daughters, just like he had lost. I'm talking livestock, servants. He became wealthier than he was before. Talk about maximum restoration. And what happened to Job's friends? The Lord actually asked him to pray for them. What are some lessons to learn in this? The Lord is always present, even in the darkest times. The cloud may have seemed like they've rolled in, everywhere is dark, but the Lord is present, even when He is silent. The second lesson to learn in here is that be cautious as a friend. When you have a friend who is going through a tough time, do not be quick to make sense of whatever they're going through. That is not your job. Your job is to be there and empathize with them and uplift them however way you can. Job's friends started out good. As a matter of fact, they sat down there for 7 nights and didn't utter a word. That shows that they loved him. They started out good. But the end also matters. The third thing to note from here is that restoration is of the Lord and it comes in abundance. When it is time for restoration and the Lord restores everything that you've ever lost, this doesn't erase the trauma and the pain that you felt, but always take restoration as another phase, as an open door, and make sure that you live your life for God. This is the end of Bible story for today. What would you do if you were in the position of Job? Would you have acted differently? Would you have listened to your wife and caused God, which will lead to death? Or would you even have not forgiven your friends? What would you do if you were in the position of Job? Y'all, this is the end of it. The story of Job is always so emotional for me. We have gotten to the end of it. If you like what you've just seen, make sure you subscribe because that is the only way you can get notified when I drop some gems. And until next time, love you and God loves you more. Bye-bye.